Welcome, and thank you for joining me today. I'm so grateful to have you here, sharing in this space of growth, healing, and transformation. If you've already subscribed to Loving Everything, thank you for being a part of this beautiful community. Your support means so much, and together, we're creating a space where love in all its forms can be explored and embraced. As you listen to this episode, if it resonates with you, I invite you to like the video and share it with anyone who might benefit from the insights we're diving into today. These conversations are all about expanding our capacity to love ourselves, each other, and the world around us. And if you enjoy what you hear, don't forget to explore my other episodes where we journey into love's deepest, most unconditional forms. Each one is an invitation to reconnect with the parts of yourself that are waiting to be seen, healed, and loved. So thank you for being here. Let's begin.
Hi.
How are you?
I am good. How are you?
I am great. I'm so excited to speak with you today. Thank you so much for coming.
Of course.
Can you take us back to the beginning? Tell us a little bit about your journey and how the practice for women came to life and what led you to start this work.
It's a big question.
It is. So take your time with it or answer any part of that.
This journey really began, I was in graduate school earning a master's degree in holistic health education. And while I was in graduate school, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer for the second time. So she had it 10 years before.
Wow.
And had a double mastectomy and all the things, and they told her she would be fine. And then almost 10 years to the day, she was diagnosed again. So I was in my early-ish 20s in graduate school, and my mom's diagnosed with cancer again. And at the very same time, I found out unexpectedly that I was pregnant.
Oh, wow.
So I was not married.
Second baby?
No, this was my first baby.
Okay.
So wasn't married, wasn't even fully sure I wanted this relationship or children or anything.
Oh, wow.
My mom is diagnosed, and boom, you're pregnant. And so it just sent my whole life on another trajectory that I wasn't fully expecting. And my mom, who remains my teacher, she passed away 2 years after that. So she was the type of woman that I think we can all, as women, relate to, as the woman who just gave and gave and gave and gave to everyone and everybody and everything except herself. And she was like the master martyr and the most amazing mother, and everybody in the community loved her, but she never did anything for herself. And so that was sort of the model that I had. And here I was studying health education. I was suddenly pregnant, and my mom was dying. And I just had this clarity in that time that I really believe in my bones she was sick and died young because she was never shown how to take care of herself. And I'm not talking like the cliche self-care, which I love, getting your nails done and a massage or whatever it is, but like I'm talking like deep devotion to who we are truly as women and who we are inside. And she wasn't taught that. And I don't think many of us have been. So it took me on a deep journey of searching for who am I? How do I take care of myself as a mother, as a woman? And ultimately, my mom died with her master's thesis half written on her nightstand.
Oh, wow.
Like she went back to graduate school in her later years and just never fulfilled her dreams in her life. And so I set out on a mission of like, I will do what I'm here to do. And not only that, but I will help other women do that. because I believe that is the medicine that this world needs, is all of us fully understanding why we are here and our gifts and bringing them to the world.
Mm-hmm.
So she was really the catalyst. And then I wrote my master's thesis on this integral healing center for women. And at the time, again, I had then, a couple years later, became a mom. She was still alive when my baby was born. But I realized there's also just no places for community, for women to be supported, for anybody to be supported. But here I was, a young mother. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. My mom was about to leave this earth, and I felt completely alone and realized there's no place to go. And I had been teaching yoga for many years, and it's like, I knew the yoga studios really well, and you go in and you do yoga and there's a sense of community, but not the type of community that really holds you.
Mm-hmm.
And so I wrote my master's thesis on this integral healing center for women, and it was a big dream and vision. And the vision was that we had everything under one roof, from yoga and movement to acupuncture and psychotherapy and community space.
Where was I when you were in your 20s?
Yeah, and we even had childcare so that the women could bring their children and they could do yoga and they could have a cup of tea and sit in the living room and connect and have this home. The building was actually literally like a home. So it felt like you walk into the living room. There was a little kitchenette with tea, and you could sit on the couches and the tables. And so I set out and built this space that I had dreamed up in my master's, and literally from scratch, from a dream, from a need of myself and from my mom, set out to create this space, which at the time was called Bloom Retreat. So that's where the whole, everything began. My mom died 9 months after my baby was born. And then I finished my graduate program not long later and was just on a mission to start this space. So I did. It took me a while to find a space and get through the very early phases of motherhood. But by the time my kid was like 3, I had opened the business. So that is where it all really began. And that's where it began, but it's not really where it began. Because then I got into this space, pretty naive, starting this business, not knowing what the hell I was doing. I had this dream and this vision and this sense of like, I will do this, I must do this, and got in there. And then the women that started coming through the doors and just the ecosystem of the business and the needs and the desires and the longings of the women coming through started to really shape and reveal what the heart and soul of this was. Mm-hmm. And that's where the practice was born. Mm-hmm. So then I was teaching my yoga classes to women only, which I had never done. I had always taught in the bigger yoga studios. And there's just something different that happens when you open a studio just for women.
I agree.
Yeah. And that was all unexpected to me. I knew that I wanted to do that, but I had never really done it. And so suddenly all these women are coming through the doors and coming in for yoga. And I just started to really attune and listen and hear the stories of hundreds and ultimately thousands of women. And the not funny thing is they were all like my mother. Mm-hmm. They were all overgivers and sacrificing their own needs and their own desires and their own dreams for all the people around them, yet longing to fully live. And so I just started to listen and could feel that we want yoga, yes, but perhaps our yoga looks a little bit different. Perhaps our yoga looks like connection and communing with each other and with ourselves in a different way. And so this whole body of work that I now call the practice for women was born in that space from getting like an front row seat to thousands of women's stories and lives. And so the practice in that space was really born as that became the integrative circle ceremony movement, connection, sisterhood, like sharing, witnessing, healing, moving, all of it in one circle. And I started to develop programs in that space that were 10-week programs where the same women would show up every week at the same time, because I also realized that women are really good at buying like a 10-week yoga pass or 10 pass class or whatever, and then not coming. They'd come once or twice and then disappear. Yeah, we know it. I do that too, right? And so this was also in response to them, was like
programs.
Like, how do I create a container where they actually want to show up? Because that's the hardest thing for us. And so I found that if there's something where it's the same women, the same faces, and we are actually connecting and having real conversations about real deep stuff, not the surface stuff that happens in like a pickup, the kids at the school or whatever, but like real.
Or in passing.
Like where
we just took a class together. Hi, nice to see you again.
Bye. Like where the intention is to drop in, magic started to happen. And so magic happened, and this whole amazing community was birthed, and every time I offered it, it was selling out. It was just like this, women were proved to be hungry for this type of work and to really be held in a sacred container. So that is the long and the short of it, of where it all began and where it was seeded in that time.
I think it's really interesting, and maybe you've noticed this too, that the people that are drawn to you tend to mirror the same lessons, or at least lessons that you have previously overcome yourself. I'm not surprised that most of the women that ended up showing up there reflected your mother, right? Or reflected aspects of you that you were overcoming.
And those core wounds of the feminine. Yeah.
Yes.
And then, this is another part of the story, but I had that space and that business for about 10 years, and then I got really sick. Because what happened was then I was living out my mother's patterns. And I was overgiving and taking care of all these hundreds of women and building this amazing community.
Which I'm sure you're amazing at.
And
but
my
then you
body
had nothing
was
for
like, where are you?
Yeah.
And my body like completely shut down. And that was also then where my personal transformation started of like, okay, I can do this thing, I can build this thing, but it can't be in sacrificing myself and my health. And so the funny, not funny thing again of building this healing center for women that was all around this centered topic, here I was doing the exact same thing. And so it was a massive initiation of like my body saying, you must sit down, sister, and close the doors, take a breath, figure this out. So that's been my journey for the past many years.
Yeah. How long ago was it when you closed the doors?
I got sick in 2017, and I finally closed in the beginning of 2019. So it took I had to figure out how to get out of the space. I mean, it was like a whole
You had
thing.
people relying on you.
Yes, it was tragic. I had this whole community and people that worked there and people that loved coming there.
Yeah.
And so it was also like, how do I
say goodbye to all of that?
Put this down when so many people
are relying on you.
And so that was a huge part of my initiation too, of like, there's a line in the poem by Oriah Mountain Dreamer, The Invitation. Do you know that poem? It's beautiful. It's my favorite.
You have to share it with me, please.
My favorite line that I live by is, can you disappoint another to be true to yourself? And can you bear the accusation of betrayal to not betray your own soul?
I've read this recently.
Yeah. So it's like, can you bear the accusation of betrayal to not betray yourself? I think that was like the biggest lesson and initiation that space gave me, and realizing like, whew, I'm here doing what my mom did, and I'm here to break that pattern. And so I had to go on a very intentional journey to look at what that is and how do I break it and how do I rebuild and come back in a different way. So.
And how proud of you are you? Well, let me rephrase that. How proud you must be to have learned that when you did.
yeah, I mean, it was hell.
Oh,
And-
I'm sure it was not easy. I'm
and
just
there was
saying,
no other
like,
way. Yes.
you learned that.
I learned that real hardcore. And
Were
I think it was
were
I'm
your
supposed to learn
mother,
it.
and how brave of you to go through that.
Yeah. And because it's like I am here to break that pattern for myself, for her, and for my daughter.
Yes.
And I believe that healing is
generational
and forward and back. And
good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you for getting it.
So it's also why I call it the practice. This is the practice, right? And it is never
and
ending.
you have to practice it.
You have to practice it. And it's never ending.
Oh, it's not just a one and done.
No. And as soon as you think you're done, it will show you something new. So, yeah.
Okay, so fast forward. You come up to you come from the Bay Area.
Yeah.
You come up to Oregon City area, which is south of Portland. For those who are not familiar with this area, it's a little bit south of Portland, and you start to build again. And when did you start that? Was that at the beginning of COVID? I feel like it was.
Well, so during COVID, we got up here this summer right before COVID hit. So that was... my kids went into school and then COVID hit and everything shut down. So that was pretty rough. So I actually went online and was leading classes and building community online for a couple years during COVID.
Okay.
And then I found a local space here because I've always had it in my heart that the magic, there's just something so deeply amazing about local community.
And being in person.
And that's what I mean, in person, local community where you can touch and feel and be with people in the way that happened in my space in California. It was unlike anything I have ever experienced happened in that place. And so I've always had it as a seed in my heart that I will do that again. And so I found a local little space here in West Lynn, which I've had for almost this summer would be 3 years that I would have that. So I slowly started building circles in there while also doing online programs.
Yeah.
And then somewhere in there just got clear, like, I just want to do in person. Online is great for connecting, and I do other things online, but there's just, for me, the magic, and I think my gift is best given in person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I've had that space for a couple of years, and I am looking to expand and figure out how she wants to grow here.
That's the first time that's ever happened, if that shows up. Okay, so shall we talk about how that's starting to shift for you?
Sure.
Are you okay with talking about that? Yeah. So there's been a pretty big shift in your life lately, just in being notified that the space is being transformed into something else that you're holding the sanctuary at and the practice at. So how are you navigating the changes emotionally, and what's been the silver lining in this moment of uncertainty?
Yeah, well, you've been to that space. It's quite beautiful.
It's cute.
And I put a lot into it.
So
it's this beautiful sanctuary space where we can gather, and I've loved it.
It's very you.
Yeah, and I was just about to launch this whole membership model that you also knew about, which I have a dream of doing, where it is really modeled after what I had in California, but a little bit different, where it's really like what I'm calling a sacred social club. And a membership model for women to have different opportunities and touch points to connect and be immersed in community throughout the month, because I think we're just hungry for it. And especially in the times we're living in right now, we need sanctuary and safe space to connect. So anyways, I was about to launch this whole thing. I'm like fully working on it behind the scenes. And then I get this letter from the landlord 2.5, 3 weeks ago that was like, you must be out of here in 60 days. My heart just like stopped, and it took me a moment to get up off the floor.
I can imagine.
I quickly called my spiritual mentor coach, who kind of helps and supports me through everything. I'm like, I need an emergency call right now. And she hopped on the call with me. And I think it is this is the practice, coming back to that, right?
Yeah.
Like it was a moment of devastation, of heartache, of heartbreak, of like, oh,
A dream.
shit. Oh, fuck. Like, what now?
Yeah.
And simultaneously a deep place of like, okay, if this is coming, then it's coming for
a reason. Mm-hmm.
And my practice is trusting in that and letting that lead me rather than the fears, which are still there.
Of course they are.
Of course they are, because I'm human. That there is something else. And this happened right before I'm about to launch, thank God, because if I had launched and then it happened, it'd be far worse. So I'm taking it as, okay, this just isn't the home for this.
Yeah.
There's something else.
Yeah, and the timing, right?
Yeah. And so
and you were kind of loose on the timing anyway. You were still kind of shifting
the timing
with
was
what
loose.
that was going to look like.
And,
so you have some flexibility.
I have flexibility. If I had already launched, that would be different. So I have flexibility. And now it's just like, okay, I'm listening. Mm-hmm. Where do you want this to be? And I think of this business as she is a soul of her own, right? I'm here as her, I don't know what the word is. I'm here helping her.
The vessel? Are you the vessel?
Maybe. She's coming through me.
Yeah.
But she has her own soul. Mm. And then show me where you want to be. Mm-hmm. And I am in service to that, to her.
I love that.
Yeah.
I know you've been listening deeply to the wisdom of the universe in these really challenging times. What has this recent experience really taught you about trust and surrender?
This experience of losing the space? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it is just another opportunity to really trust and be in deep surrender and deep listening and surrender again and again and again and again. And I feel like this has been my journey over and over again, is just death and rebirth. Like, I feel like that is what life has made me a master at, from going back to when my mom died, but then just so many death opportunities of having to let go, of having to release. And can we trust in the uncertainty, in that darkness, because I can't see yet. It's like I'm in the dark.
You're in the tunnel.
I'm in the tunnel.
You might not even be able to see the light.
I can't yet. Mm-hmm. But I know it's there. So can we trust that it is there even when we can't see it? I think that is the ultimate lesson, and that is where I'm at right now, is
and you also have really great community support around you. Mm. You have such a good amount of people who want this to happen as much as you. So I think that surrendering to that holding that you've already created for others, and now they're kind of creating it for you.
Yeah, and like really that's the release and the letting go of like, this actually isn't mine. This has a journey. She has a journey that she wants to go on.
She's on a journey. Let's see. You've been leading women in deep transformative spaces for years now. Mm-hmm. What do you think women need the most right now, especially in these times of uncertainty and change?
Yeah, 2 things. I think, and this is what the practice is and what I've learned over and over again. 1, we need community and connection, and sacred community again, where we can show up in safe spaces and take off what I call the mask of perfectionism and just be real and connect from a deeper place. Mm-hmm. We're so hungry for it. Mm-hmm. And when we do get that, it's just like food for our feminine souls. Mm-hmm. It's just how we're supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So we need that. And then the second thing, I think, is learning to trust ourselves. We haven't really been taught that. I don't know about you, but I haven't. No one sat down and taught me that as a child.
No one taught me that. No. I think, if anything, I've learned it through the school of hard knocks, or through age, or through being knocked around in life, for sure.
Yeah, and so
that's
many of the women I work with, it's like you know, it's like you hear the little voice inside of you, or you feel the little nudge, or you know you should be going this one way, but it's like, no, I hear you, but I'll go this way anyway. Or the doubts come in and the fears come in, and so we kind of turn down the volume of that inner, true, wise voice.
Or the intuition.
Yeah, and we turn up the volume of all the external voices and the expectations, or the cultural expectations, or the way we should be doing it, right? And then we ignore.
What are people expecting of us?
Yeah. And so I think what women need, especially in this moment, is to turn up the volume
of their intuition. I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it is needed right now. Our gifts, our voices, our wisdom is so needed right now.
And it's so loud out there.
So loud. And so that
it's very confusing.
It's very confusing, and it's hard to hear.
It is very hard to hear.
And so in those places where we can gather and connect with women, and I'm always thinking of it as like all that noise is happening up here. And when we gather, it's like we come underneath that noise and we get to connect here, and we can finally hear. And when we have other women reflecting that back to us, that's where the power starts to happen, right? But we need each other.
I agree. Let's see. Having previously run a women's yoga and healing center in California, you've experienced a lot of what it takes to create a space for transformation. Let's see. I'm looking at this question. I think you've answered a lot of it, but how has that shaped the work that you're doing now in Portland? Has it shifted at all, that experience in California as opposed to now?
I mean, on a very practical level, yes. I know what not to do.
and how you guide the process, or how you're...
In terms of like what I lead in my circles?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking more of like the business practicalities. But in terms of the way that I lead, it probably looks a little different than I did in California now, because I'm different.
Yeah.
So I also believe as we evolve and grow, and everything I've been through, and I continue to study and deepen in my own teachings and practices, like what I offer can't not look a little bit different.
Yeah. You're more informed.
Yeah. I feel like I'm also just more grounded in it now, probably.
And maybe even you have more space in some ways because your children were a lot younger.
Yeah. And my kids are about to launch out of the house.
Yeah.
And so I've said lately a lot of times, it's like I feel like my mothering door is starting to close. Not that I won't always be a mother, but like the baby mothering.
Yes.
Like I don't have small children anymore that need that. And so it's almost, I feel like my priestessing door is opening, where it's time for me to like really step out and do the work now. And it's like everything I've been through for the last 18 years since my baby was born, when my mom was sick, was like the training. And now it's like, okay, now it's time to go.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that for you. It's a new chapter.
Totally.
Yeah. The concept of sisterhood is such a powerful theme in your work. How has the practice become a place where women not only heal, but also support each other to rise?
I mean, it's the essence of it. Yeah. I think I talk about when I lead Sanctuary Sunday, or the practice is like, and what I lead women to do is to speak and connect from what I call the womb of silence. So often we are up here and we share from stories.
I love that.
This happened, and then she did that, and then he did that, and my mom did this, and oh my God, and then we're up here, right? And so when we really learn how to come down and actually connect and share from the womb, like such deeper connection happens, and we speak from like truth and from essence, not from story, not from all the things that happen, which we've all been through, but what happens when we come down here. And that's where the magic happens. And it's where we can connect and relate as feminine beings, not from our stories and our circumstances.
I love that,
Yeah.
Michelle.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful.
And so your question, that's where the transformation happens, because we see each other in a really different way. And so when I lead my programs in these circles, it's like the bond that happens, it's authentic. It's authentic, yeah.
And vulnerable.
Very vulnerable, yeah. Because that's where intimacy happens, and that is what we are craving.
Yes. Okay, let's see. Okay, you've spoken a lot about the divine feminine and the importance of healing ancient wounds. How do you see the feminine rising right now, and how can we as women support one another in this collective shift?
I mean, all of what I've been saying, right? And the feminine is definitely rising right now. I feel it in myself. I see it and feel it in all the women that I hold and serve. And there's like an ache. There's a longing.
It's exciting.
I'm mentoring so many women right now going through divorce, and I don't think that there's any coincidence with that. It's like we're waking up to our true alignment and what is really true.
Well, I think anything that isn't aligned has fallen away.
It's starting to fall away.
And will just not progress.
No.
It's like dead
in the tracks. Yesterday I was mentoring.
Like literally.
Yeah, I was mentoring one of my clients last night, and that's what we were talking about, is like she's in a relationship and she's also feeling this deep call, like she knows what she is meant for, but she's realizing this relationship she's been in will not allow this calling to happen. I think this is where we're at, whether it's relationships or old jobs or old ways of being or old patterning, whatever it is, we're feeling this like, I can't live in this anymore.
Well, we've outgrown it.
It's
keeping us small.
We're expanding.
We are expanding. Yeah. And, I don't think I was talking about it, but I was talking about it offline maybe with you, that, the House of Healing and Love, it couldn't happen with my ex-husband.
Exactly.
I didn't realize that at the time.
Right.
I mean, I did and I didn't, right? I didn't realize that it was a dream that he was preventing. At the time, I still prioritized that relationship, and it was worth prioritizing. However, both were not sustainable. Something had to give, and I was caught in the middle. It was costing me.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that happening.
Yeah.
Whether it's relationships or other
so you and I
things.
kind of like went through that personally, and now the people that we work with, we're leading. That's what I was getting at the beginning, is we're leading them through a process that we've learned to navigate ourselves.
And
not that we perfected, but
but I think that is how we're
navigate.
Rising. Is like I'm just getting an image of like a baby bird cracking out of the egg. Like we just like we're ready to be out of the egg,
or the butterfly coming out of the chrysalis.
And it's coming back to that wisdom and that intuition, and finding our own true gifts that are ready to be here. And we've spent generations of being suppressed and repressed and told to be quiet and told to just sit there and be pretty and to follow the rules and to do whatever it is we were meant to do. And we're getting to a place where we're like, I can't fucking do that anymore. Like, I'm done. We're done. We're done here.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, I hear that so loud and clear. Okay, let's see if you've already answered this. Okay. I'm going to skip that. You've already kind of covered that. Okay. In terms of community building, you've expressed that you want to create spaces where women can show up as their true selves. What makes a community like the practice different from the ones you see online or in more service level gatherings?
Yeah, I think it's going back to what I shared before and really teaching women how to connect from this different place, not from the surface place, and to take off the masks and to just share from our deeper truths and our deeper wisdom.
And is that, because I haven't done the practice, so I'm not making an assumption here, but is that what the 10 weeks cover?
Yeah, I mean, it's always doing, and even in Sanctuary Sunday, because I don't think you've been to one of those. Yeah, I will start out with that of like, this is one of our agreements in that space is to speak and connect from here, and I will guide you to there. And I never, and the Sanctuary Sunday has women coming in for the first time from all different walks of life, and it doesn't matter, we still drop into that place. And so I think there's that, and then just there's something about holding a sacred container is different than, I don't know, a meetup. Not saying that those are bad, but there's something about having this sanctity of a container that is held with intention in a very certain way.
Tell us about that. This is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
This is what I think is unique to you.
How would I put it into words?
Because you set this space.
Yes,
Like
it's
you
setting
do
space.
set a sacred
Well, the space, talking about space,
Yes.
is actually really important if we
Yes.
want to go to physical space. So
Yeah.
right now, if you walk into the sanctuary space, it smells a certain way. There's incense burning and candles burning, and there's music playing. And so when women come in for the practice or even Sanctuary Sunday, they will often tell me, and this goes back to, this is very intentional actually.
Good.
Your body remembers.
Yeah.
You walk into the space, you smell the candles, you hear familiar music, you see familiar faces, and suddenly you're like, oh, I can relax here, right? Your nervous system can calm down. So if we can create space that is already allowing the nervous system to come down, and it's kind of like when you hear a song that you remember from high school, you have, like, your body has a memory of it.
or perfume.
Yeah, or a perfume.
Yeah.
Like there's some kind of visceral memory of it. And so the space is actually really important for women to come in and feel safe and to be able to drop in.
I think that's your
that
gift.
way. Yeah, which is why online didn't really work.
setting the environment.
Setting
I think
sacred space,
Yes.
setting the sacred container is what I call it. And it's very intentional. It's very ritualized. So I think also...
And it's beautiful. It's very Venus driven.
Yeah, and Venus is
Do you
all
have
over
some
my...
Libra in
I
you?
have Venus all over everything in my chart. So
Do you have
beauty.
Scorpio too?
No, I have a lot of Taurus and Venus.
Do you?
But everything is like earthly, and
That makes a lot of sense.
beauty is really
But
important.
you talk
to me.
about transformation a lot, so I'm like, well, maybe there's some Scorpio mixed in.
I don't have much of that. But
That's
for the feminine, the senses, right? Like the beauty and
Yes.
to be able to see you
Yes.
and to smell and to
Yes.
feel like I'm comfy and
Yes.
safe. Like there's just something so important to that. So setting that stage and then having intentionally very held ceremonial circles allows us to feel held in a container where we can drop in. So I think it is all about the container. Yeah.
okay. Let's see. We're going to scoot forward a little bit because I don't want to keep making you explain. Okay, so let's move on to you. How have you personally navigated major life changes like your divorce, and how has this contributed to the wisdom and leadership you bring to your community?
So my ex-husband used to always joke that I have a football team of women always around me. I think it frustrated him at times. I have a
Do you think he was
team
jealous of
women.
it?
Yeah, I think a little bit, because I'm like, go get your own team. You can
And
have a team
he didn't
too.
have his own team.
No, but I have a team. Like
You
I
do have a team.
a very intentional team, from my spiritual mentor to my physical energy body worker, to my therapist, to my sisterhood of friends who I can vox and send messages to at any time, where we talk business and friendship and kids and everything, where we are just like in it together, where I think I've always been, especially when my mom was sick, I think that that's where this really started. And what it really was, what Bloom was and what the practice is like, we need a team of women. We need that support system around us. We're not meant to go through things alone. And so I always have a team. Always. I think that's key.
I agree. It has certainly saved me, but I didn't learn it like you. It took me much longer to learn it.
Yeah.
I didn't learn it until the end of my 40s.
Yeah.
And then it's really been this last 10 years that I've honed in on, that's really what has been missing. Not that it wasn't a priority, not that I didn't realize it was missing. I didn't know how to cultivate it yet for myself.
I think it's learning to cultivate it.
Yes.
And that's what really my space in California was like. I'm going to put all the teammates under one roof, so women can walk in and have their team already here, you know, and we need our team. And then also my practice is a deep practice of listening, of turning inward and asking again and again, what is true, what is real. And that's the kind of like the essence of the practice too, is learning to tune in and listen to that voice and turn the volume up of that voice. But then I would argue what's more challenging is then can you follow what she's asking you to do?
Oh, that's so good.
Because oftentimes,
Michelle.
Yeah, the truth is, shit, I need to not be in this marriage anymore.
Yeah.
Or I need to move.
Or I got to close down.
I have to close down my business.
The business that I love.
And then the other voice comes in, is like, no, you can't. All these people need you. And
stop it.
And la la. And then it's like, that's what we're up against all the time, right? And so we have to learn to turn the volume of all that down. What is true? What is true? And now do I have the courage to listen and honor her? And that's the true practice.
Where did you learn to be so brave?
I don't know.
Were you like this when you were a kid?
I think there was always a driving force. And then I think when my mom died and I was pregnant, it was a huge... I often feel like my mom was a very strong woman, but she also didn't have a lot of these tools or skills. And sometimes I feel like when she died, it was like she gave me her strength, like whoosh, like I filled up with what she left. So I feel like there was definitely a catalyst and some kind of thing happened when she left. So
what a beautiful gift.
She's not gone. It continues.
She still lives in you.
Yeah.
I love that. Mm-hmm. And also, I admire you for admitting that.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. What are you naturally gifted in, and how do you use those gifts to support the women you work with?
I think I am naturally gifted at creating very safe space. And I think I have, like my feminine archetype is that of the midwife, the great mother. Like there's like, I have a way of holding that I think allows people to feel safe to let go. And there will be women that come into Sanctuary Sunday, and every one of those circles I go around and I meet each woman and I sit in front of them and just have eye contact and let them know I'm here. And sometimes just even in that moment, she'll start to cry because it's just like...
She's been seen.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. What do you feel the world needs more of right now, especially for women who are stepping into their full power?
Other women stepping into their power. We need community, connection, and conversations about stepping into our power.
Okay.
And to support each other in doing it. Yeah.
What were the relationships like that you witnessed growing up, and how have those early experiences influenced your approach to community and connection today?
Yeah, I think a lot of it goes back to my mom. She was a natural community. I always think of myself as a woman gatherer. And
So she was good at that as
she
well.
was so good at it. And different, I mean, hers manifested differently. She wasn't leading circles,
Yeah.
but she was definitely a community builder. On the day that she died, I got a call early in the morning to come to her home, and her house was filled with women. Filled, top to bottom. All the women, all her friends, all her sisters, the house was filled with women. And I will never forget it. And that was who she is. And so I feel like even though it manifested differently for her, it's definitely in me. And I witnessed it growing up.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Sorry. Just very different experience in my household. That's why my mouth.
I was blessed in that way, for
in
sure.
that regard,
Yeah.
yes. At the cost of your mom's health, but yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were witness, and it was modeled to you to cultivate.
Yeah, for sure.
If you could change one thing about your parents or the way that you were raised, what would it be? And how do you think that change would have impacted your life?
These are good questions.
Thank you.
Yeah. You know, I don't think even though I lost my mom, I would change much of anything because she remains a teacher. She's my teacher. I think with my dad, he's still here. It's a little more challenging with him. And I think if I could change anything, I would rip his heart open to be more vulnerable and to be able to meet him. Like, it's just hard to meet, But I think that's generational for older men.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. My dad is 84. I can absolutely.
It's just like closed. So
Yeah.
if I could, I would get in there somehow. But I've also accepted that probably not in this lifetime.
Me too. What unique or interesting thing about you do only those close to you know?
I'm really silly. With my loved ones behind closed doors, I love being silly. And, yeah.
I love being silly too.
Yeah.
With your kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And with my beloved and just, yeah.
You've faced many hurdles in your life. What's one of the most challenging moments you've encountered, and how did you rise above it? Was it leaving the practice and having your mom die? Or was there something else in your life?
I recently went through a divorce as well, and I was officially divorced last July.
Okay.
And
I was officially divorced in August.
Okay. We're divorce sisters.
In that regard, yes.
Yeah. I mean, my divorce was luckily amicable, but I think actually there were moments of that where my heart felt so tortured for my children. And I think I had moments of thinking this is even more painful than losing my mother, knowing that they are facing a death of their parents. And so it was more the heartache for them, I think, was maybe more brutal than anything.
Yeah.
It's hard. And then that's coming back to knowing when you're doing something right, or when I'm choosing what's right.
But still choosing it for you, even when it costs.
And the recognition of I held on for a long time.
Yeah.
And I had realizations later of that holding on actually hurt them.
Same.
More than probably just the moment of it happening.
Same.
So it's
I had that wisdom later.
Yeah, that whole grief was really intense to move through.
I found that my daughter was ready to move on faster than I was.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that she didn't have a grieving process. I'm not saying that it wasn't difficult, but that she had seen it way before I was willing to see it myself.
And I think mine are fine, but it's that grief,
Yeah.
I did that, I hurt them. It was really hard.
Mm-hmm. But you're also, I mean, I've never witnessed you being a mother, but our whole conversation is around you mothering. So I have a feeling that you've made up for it in other ways.
Yeah, I think I'm a pretty good mom.
I can imagine.
I think they know I am here for them fully.
Yeah.
It's just the grief.
Yeah.
I mean, divorce is a death.
And it is so hard to even articulate when you're going through it, for anyone who hasn't been through it. I think it's similar to childbirth. I'm not saying that intellectually you can't understand that it is going to be devastating, but it's one thing to intellectually understand something, and then it's a whole other experience when it impacts you emotionally. Or energetically.
Yeah, no, I remember talking to my therapist when I was in those moments of brutal grief after the divorce. And I'm like, did we talk about this? I
have no recollection. Was I there?
We talked about that this would be coming, but you don't know until you're sitting in it. And I remember those first weeks where they would go to their dads and I was suddenly in my house. That, I think,
all by yourself. Oh my God, that is so weird, isn't it?
So painful too.
Yes.
And I haven't lived in a house
all by myself for years.
Since, years and years and years.
Same.
How do I breathe? How do I sit in this space? How do I eat my meal? How do I do this?
No one needs me right now.
No, I think actually to answer your question, that
was hard for me too.
Really hard.
That was really, really difficult.
Yeah.
A huge mourning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I romanticized it. I love having my own home. And so fun. And it is. But.
I think I think at first I also was excited. I was excited because my daughter had gotten to a place where she didn't need me as much. And so that part I romanticized, and the fact that I was not thank God, but I can get back to me now, and the space or the void of that being out of your life is a whole other experience. And then walking around, in a home that you used to reside in with so many other people.
Yeah.
And now you're there by yourself. Yeah. No one talks about that, do they?
No.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's hard.
It's really hard. It's really hard. It does pass, but it is really difficult to
it's just finally passing.
Is it?
Yeah, but there were a couple months in there where it was rough.
Rough. Yeah. Uh-huh. I hear you. How do you lead yourself in times of uncertainty, and what practices keep you grounded when everything feels in flux?
Yeah, I'm in that right now with this space, and also my son is trying to choose his college, and just continuing to come back to that trust, and often it's just putting my hands on my body, taking a breath, and what is real, what is true. I'm okay right now.
So getting curious.
Yeah.
Getting curious about your experience.
Yeah, and reminding
Asking
myself that
questions.
I'm safe right now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
okay.
You seem really good at that.
It's not that I don't have my moments for sure, but it's when the moments come, it's okay, I am safe.
Yeah.
I am safe.
Yeah.
I am okay right in this moment. Yeah.
Okay, you've answered that. What is a part of yourself that you're still working on healing, and what does that journey look like?
The thing that is most alive in my own healing right now is as I shared earlier, I got pregnant pretty young, and I was not married, and I wasn't really ready for any of that to happen. And I chose it, but I was teaching yoga in San Francisco at the time when I got pregnant, and I was like kind of like a rising yogi.
What year was this?
This would have been like 2006.
Okay.
And I remember I found out I was pregnant.
And where did you teach?
I taught at a couple different studios, mostly in the Mission District in San Francisco.
We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah. And I got a phone call from one of these guys who was one of these big rising yogi superstars in San Francisco, and he was inviting me to come do something with them. And I remember seeing his call, and it was like an honor to have his call, and I just like clicked off. And I have that moment so clearly in my head. It was like, I can't do it. I'm pregnant. My whole life is changing. Like, I have to let go of that dream, that life, all of it. And now, fast forward 18 years later, my son is about to leave. My daughter is 1 year behind him. I feel like I am in a reclamation moment of my life, of going back, not back to the...
You're going to make the phone call?
I'm not going to be a rising yoga star. Those days are over, but a reclamation of like the things I didn't do.
Yes, because you put your dream on hold.
I did. And so suddenly...
Do you find that you know a lot of women who put their dreams on hold?
Yeah, I think so many. And now I'm divorced, and now it's like, okay, I get to go now. I get to adventure, I get to reclaim, I get to live. And there's been a lot of grief in this divorce process for that 26-year-old self that turned off that phone call. And it's like, now I get to go back and meet her and find her and play with her and do what she wants to do in a new, more wise, mature way.
Totally more wise way. Yeah.
But I get to bring her back. So I think
it's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, by the way. You kind of answered that too. Looking ahead, when you're 90 years old, what do you want to have stood for, and what do you hope to have accomplished in your life and in your community?
I hope to just, to have touched as many women's hearts as I can and help them remember who they are. And hopefully that's again through another robust, alive community. And I also hope that, my daughter is 16 and she's kind of like, Mom, what are you doing with your, she's, when you're 16, you don't think what your mom does is very cool.
No, you do not. They do come back around. Mine is 27 and now admires and respects me.
When I'm 90 and they're, however old they'll be, that this wisdom is passed down. And whatever patterns I have yet to break, they will take the baton and keep it going.
You are a good mom. Is there a topic that you could talk about for hours? And what about this topic do you love so deeply?
I mean, I could talk about women and all of our wounds and all of the ways that our culture and the patriarchy and all the things keep us from who we really are. And if you get me going, I could get going. But what was the second part of your question?
What about this topic do you love so deeply?
I'm just so passionate about women remembering who they are and coming alive right now.
I think you're an oracle.
Thank you. Yeah, I think, again, I just think it's the medicine that is needed right now. And we can't hide anymore.
Well, that's why I asked you how you learned to become so brave, because you're incredibly courageous in leading the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think from my mom
Yeah.
in whatever ways she showed up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What's one belief you've shifted in your life, and how did you come to see it differently?
I'm sure there's many. I think, the one that I'm holding right now as I'm rebuilding my business and rebuilding community is that this belief that we have to hustle and kill ourselves.
Yes.
That somehow that's how we succeed. And that there's another way to do things, and that we can do things softly and with spaciousness and with trust and with flow and intuition, and that we can honor our bodies while building beautiful things. And I think if you had asked me when I first opened my business so many years ago, it's like, you got to hustle, you got to do it, you got to push, you got to grind, you got to go.
Yeah.
And I'm done.
Well, you probably don't have that energy
I can't do it anymore,
Yeah.
for one. But also it's like, yeah, we're all like dying because of this hustle culture that we believe is the way to succeed.
Well, it's pretty masculine.
It is
energy.
the masculine.
Yeah. It's pretty masculine.
It's the way
energy.
we've been taught and raised.
For sure.
And even it goes back to where the practice is like the yoga that I was taught 20 something years ago was so masculine, and so push yourself until you're dying, basically. Even the yoga I was doing was so masculine. Even in my master's degree in holistic health education, no one talked about this, right? Like, this is like a whole, why are we not talking about this? Why are we doing
Speaking of
why are our
topics,
healing models like built on this?
Yeah.
And then I had so many practitioners in my healing space. At one point, I think I had 30 people working under that building, acupuncturists and chiropractors, and every single one of them was burned out. Burned to the ground.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we're the ones holding people.
Yep.
We cannot
Yeah.
be living like this.
Yeah.
And just buzzing on coffee and Coke and whatever they could get their hands on to see the next client. And I'm like, no. But we haven't been taught another way.
And some people do, admittedly, have the capacity for that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
To find balance between the masculine and the feminine, I think is the
we need both.
goal, right?
We need both.
Yeah.
We're just the pendulum has swung
so
so
far
far into the masculine that we are burnt out.
Totally. There's a reason why compassion fatigue is such a buzzword, right?
And the feminine for me is like the flow and the gentleness and the spaciousness and the softness, but for
and the
me it's
receptivity.
but then the masculine comes in to serve that. Like, it's, as I'm building a business, it's not like there's not structure and masculine energy needed for sure.
Or drive.
But it's in service of her. And I think that's like the true balance of the masculine and feminine is like, how can I hold you? How can I support you so you can be in your flow and you can be in your medicine and in your magic?
What do you love the most about yourself?
I love how I love my children. Yeah. Yeah. Just love.
You're very compassionate.
And I am gentle, and I am on the softer side. And I used to have, I was in all these like masterminds with high level business women owners, and they're all like real hardcore. And I'm like this softer energy. And I always felt like that is like a weakness or something. And somewhere I realized like, actually this is
a strength
and a gift. And so I love that about myself too.
It takes so much courage to keep your heart open.
Yeah. And to be soft. Yeah. And that it doesn't have to always be this like hardcore show pushing. And so I think I've learned to love that.
What are you willing to fight for, and why is it so important for you?
I am willing to fight for this dream as I'm sitting in this precipice of this old space being taken away. And there was like moments where the fear comes in and is like, okay, maybe I'm just not supposed to do this. Maybe I'm supposed to
I can't imagine you not doing it.
But of course the fear comes in.
Oh,
like,
I know, because you're
supposed to
sitting,
do
you're
something
sitting in
else?
your body.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think everyone around you is like, well, what else would you be
I know,
doing?
and that is what I get back, reflection back. And that's what I'm willing to fight for, even when the voices come in of like,
how are you going to do this?
how are you going to do it? Maybe you should just get a real job.
Oh, yeah, I've heard that. I've heard that plenty of times. Yeah.
But that's not what I'm here to do.
I agree.
Yeah.
With all of the work that you've done in community building and your focus on feminine leadership, how do you feel we can incorporate more love both for ourselves and for the world around us?
Yeah. I mean, one of the lines that one of my teachers always says is there's only one of us in here. There's only one of us here. Meaning we are all in this. We're all the same. If somebody's hurting, then I'm hurting, right? And so just realizing that there's actually only one of us here. It's not about pointing fingers and like, you did that thing and you suck and how could you, right? It's also looking at like, okay, maybe that's happening, but where might that even show up in myself? Where do I, maybe not in those same exact ways, but where is it reflecting? Where is it reflected in me, and how can I soften those rigid edges? And if I can start to do that, then maybe some of that stuff that's happening in the world can also soften.
Well, I think the outside world is a direct reflection of what is going on internally. If there's a lot of chaos or a lot of decisiveness or a lot of judgment or a lot of criticism, self-criticism with who you are or how you show up every single day or how you pour into yourself or how you love yourself, that is directly reflected in the relationships that you're cultivating, in the partnerships that you're communicating with and aligning with. And if anything, that's just being directly reflected back at you. And that is the lesson. Yeah. That is the practice.
That is the practice. And it's hard.
It is.
Because we don't want to look at those.
It is hard.
I don't want to always
look at those places. It is hard because we're not always conscious, too. No. We're not always paying attention.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. It's hard to be conscious all the time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story.
Yeah, thanks for asking.
You're welcome. And thank you so much for joining me today and for sharing more about where you are in your process and the wisdom that you give to others so freely in all of your community-based spaces. And I have no doubt that you will easily move through this transition
something will
with tremendous grace. It sounds like you have some practice doing this before. And I think that's where wisdom comes from. I was going to say that earlier, that I tell people that are younger than me that really I still don't know what I'm doing. It's just that I have more experience cheering myself through the difficulty or knowing that I've gotten through something that is just as, or if not more difficult in previous times. And so I got through that and I'll get through this too.
Yeah.
That's where that trust comes from, right?
Yeah. It's just deep trust.
And that comes with time and practice. So thank you for being a guiding light.
Thank you.
For others, even in your own darkness. And that thank you for reflecting out where our work is.
Yeah. Thank you for seeing it.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in and supporting this podcast. Your presence here means the world to me, and I'm truly grateful for your time and energy. If this conversation resonated with you or sparked any questions, feel free to share your thoughts in the comments. I love hearing from each of you. Your insights, experiences, and curiosities always enrich this space. It's important to remember that trauma, often unseen and unacknowledged, can keep us from living fully in our joy. Through my intuitive healing process, I help release the weight of generational trauma, empowering you to reconnect with your true self and experience life in greater harmony. If you feel called to explore this deeper work, I invite you to book a one-on-one intuitive session or even embark on a personalized journey with a Phoenix Immersion, a 2-day retreat designed to support profound transformation. You can find all the details below. For those who've liked, subscribed, or left comments already, thank you from the bottom of my heart. Your engagement means everything, and I'm deeply grateful for the connection we're building in this community. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing so. I'm excited for all the healing and transformation we'll continue to explore together. As always, I'm forever grateful for you, and I cannot wait to see what unfolds next. Take care, and until next time.